Hello, this is Daniel Posney, and this is Shifting Perspectives, and this is about placating and being the people pleaser. So, placate to allay the anger of, especially by making concessions or to appease, to pacify, and to conciliate. So, I'll just read you what I came up with this morning in meditation. Otherwise known as people pleaser, the thought is logically, if I just acquiesce and appease enough, things will settle into no conflict. I'm just wanting no conflict. If we have a big conflict, it'll ruin our relationship. And where this comes from is just, again, another recent session that I just had with a couple. And they're both very intelligent, very logical. He grew up with parents that didn't really know or how to teach him about emotions. And so they just taught him how to be smart. And so when you grow up that way, it like the emotional thing and people being emotional is kind of like you must get the feeling like, God, these people are weak. They're not smart enough to get beyond their own emotions, and they're at the mercy of their emotions. So it just feeds more into, well, I'm just going to be logical and smart, and then I'll be acknowledged for my knowledge and for my brain. But what happens is that you feel like you're missing out on something. Why is it these people have, even though they have emotions, they're they have such a full life, and you think, doesn't this take them down? Doesn't it make their life like they're at the mercy of their emotions? And so when you get into a relationship with another person that's also logical and has this, what I just spoke of, if I just appease this person's needs, I just say, well, I don't really care, just it's not up to me, whatever you want, kind of thing. What actually tends to happen is you start forgetting what your own needs are. And then at the same time, you've got this feeling like nothing is given to me. I can't get, what I want or what I need. And I'll just kind of have this feeling like, well, I must not need those things. And I'll just work harder and I'll just get smarter. But after a while of that, just this pent up anger and frustration starts to surface. And then this boggles you even more. Why do I don't want these emotions. I don't want this anger. Is this what they say rage is? What's boiling up in me? No, I'll just stuff it down. So if you can relate to any of that, any little piece of that, if you've been with anyone like that or you've been like that, that's kind of just being in a more logical way. And it can be sort of a disassociation where something has happened in your life and your mind has gone, I don't ever want this to happen ever again, because that was very unsafe. So, like what I did is I kind of got real logical, got real intelligent, and that served me. And but I didn't really know how to deal with my emotions in a healthy way. And what if you keep on doing that, it just kind of builds up to where it seems like I can. That is such a huge job to get on the other side of my emotions. Where do I start? How am I going to get there? It's going to take forever to get there to perfect this. But the deal is that you're not going to really perfect it, but you're just going to get happier, happier than you were yesterday. And that's what I did. Is I had a big blow up in my life, and I needed to start looking at these things. And what happened was every day I got happier than the last day. And then until, like, life just gets better. Even though you're getting older, life just gets better. And that, what a cool thing to realize that as you get older, life gets richer instead of it getting crappier and more suffering and more drama. And, you become this grumpy old bug. So let me read you what else I came up with here. The problem is it's all out of integrity with yourself. So you think that you want to be in integrity as a people pleaser, make sure that everything just stays like really copacetic, just no conflict. I just want to be peaceful, and that's a perfectly normal thing to ask for. But the problem is that you are a creator, and you are an emotional being, and you have integrity in your sight that isn't really being addressed. So what happens is that that whole lack of integrity with yourself, of your own needs, starts to kind of gnaw at you. And you feel like, well, this unpeaceful feeling I'm having, I'll just keep on acquiescing and keep on making sure that there's no conflict. But it just keeps on boiling up in you, and you get older and you start getting more resentful. So, and then on top of that, if you're saying that I just don't want any conflict, you're not saying yes to what you need. And so you're saying no to all these things, and you're not saying yes to receiving, not only to this person, but to like God, to the universe, to everything that you could have. So if you say, no, no, I don't, there's nothing that I need, it's not about me, you're really saying no to receiving, and you want things, you need things. So that's part of it. You're saying no to intimacy, because what happens when you start getting into a really in-depth conversation and communication about what your needs are and what your partner needs, you start understanding things about people. You start understanding that the reason why she's acting this way is because her father used to be dismissive, or the way that I'm acting this way is because my mother asked me a lot of questions that made me feel that I was being controlled. But when you start to talk about these things and maybe even have some heat behind it and go, wow, I'm really getting emotional about this. Like tears are starting to come. Why am I getting affected by this? It's because something hasn't been addressed and hasn't been healed and integrated in your life. And now it's coming up to a head, and you get to talk about it. And it's not going to destroy the relationship. And that's the other fear, is that if I talk about this and I get emotional, you know, my parents didn't get emotional, and the relationship stayed put. But I see these people, they get emotional, they have these big blow-ups, and then I hate you, and it's over. But that's really not what happens in a healthy relationship. At first, there's this discovery about why I'm getting triggered by these things, but you talk about it. And what happens is that you become more intimate. And I don't mean sexual intimacy, although that leads to heightened sexual intimacy, but it's intimacy in knowing each other like no one else has known you. And you know this person like no one else has known them, because all this stuff was just squashed down, squashed down. Now it's up for discussion. And there's this kind of really intense conversation that can happen. Oh my gosh, I can't, you know, is this person so wounded, that they're not the right person? No, it's just that they trust you so much, and you're in the right relationship for this to come up. That's if someone is talking about it. Now, if you're with someone that is abusive, and this is coming up, and there's no conscious communication about that, that's another thing. But if you're with someone that this is new to me, but I'm open to it kind of thing, that is so amazing. And that's what I found myself in the other day, is that this was really new to both of them. And, they both of them had a certain amount of resistance to it, which is perfectly normal because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to the logical mind to talk about this and to actually go into it. What makes sense to the mind is blaming it on the other person. They're the problem, and I've got to just make sense of this. Okay, what did I do, and what did they do, and how can I not do this again? That's a very mind kind of thing to go at it. But in the heart way, in the conscious way, in the enlightened way, is to go into it and say, okay, what is this all about? How can I meet this with feeling, with emotion, with understanding? So that's where I was kind of, they were like, in their 40s, and this is completely new to them. And they were very smart, very intelligent, very caring people. This whole thing was just new to them. So, we went through these different exercises about, okay, if this happened and this, and so here's the exercise we went through. She was in her car with her kids with the air conditioning, and that was the air conditioning story. It was really hot, and what she does is that when it's hot, she blasts the air conditioner and gets it going and gets it started. But him being a logical guy, a fix-it guy, like most of us guys are, he says, if you just turn it to auto, the whole computer system will make it so it ramps up to the right temperature, actually better than just, turning it full on. So from that, what she felt from that, this guy is trying to control me and he tells me how to do everything and I'm sick and tired of it. And what he's saying is that if she was a little bit smarter, if she didn't do it in this wrong way, she'd actually, be better for her. And that's a completely normal way of the personalities looking at things. And I've done that thing myself. If she would just do it differently, it would be better for her. But what he had going on was judgment. And when we talked to him and I asked him, do you judge other people? Do you have a lot of judgment? Yeah. But when I asked him, do you judge yourself? He said, yes, all the time. And that's the thing, is that when you're feeling judgment from another person, it's only because they have so much judgment in themselves that it comes out with other people. And they need, through their own trauma, they need everything to be in order. They need to be organized. They need to do things right, because if they don't do things right, they set themselves up to be ridiculed and judged. Or at least that's the perception in their mind. So you got someone that feels like they're being attacked, and you see have another person that has got this judgment. It's just a recipe for the relationship to just kind of explode in all these times, and both of them trying to be more intelligent and more logical, smarter than the other person, and state their case that, I've got the better case and you're wrong. But that after a while, and this is what they were seeing, is that it came to a head and they had to get something beyond regular therapy and regular stuff. It wasn't going to do it for them. And what the guy said was that when I go through regular therapy, it's like, well, let's talk about the air conditioning. Let's talk about how you could say this differently next time. And he said, this isn't going to cut it. We need to get to the bottom, something deeper. And what was funny is that supposedly he wasn't very open to spirituality and that kind of stuff. But that's exactly what he was open to. He was open to something deeper than normal discussion about this. So what happened was that we got into this discussion about, okay, where did this thing come from on her end? Where did this thing come from that you feel like you don't have a voice? And that's what came up. She felt like she didn't have a voice, and it manifested into her relationship. So when I talked to her about, could it be that you brought this into the relationship, this energy of not being heard and being discounted, not being understood, because you have a feeling of not understanding yourself and not acknowledging yourself. And it was really hard for her logically to understand how this thing could have come from a moment in the childhood. And when I explained to her that it's not, what you had in your childhood was not an air conditioning discussion or an air conditioning conflict. What you had in your childhood is not being heard, and it just manifested into all these different ways in different relationships. And for him, he had this, what came out was he had this desire to be a heart-centered man that, that people looked at and said, God, that guy is so loving. He wanted to be that. And yet, he didn't know how to get into that because he wasn't trained that way. So he's in this conflict of wanting to be known after he died to be, wow, that guy was so loving, and it wasn't about what he built or created or did. Man, that guy just meant you with his heart. That was his true desire. So within 4 minutes of discussion, he is in tears that he usually doesn't go into tears and emotion, at least not in front of his wife. And right there in front of his wife, he's getting into these tears, and she says to him, oh my gosh, that's the way that I see you. I see you as that heart-centered man, but we get into this conflict, and that's who you are. And you could just feel their hearts opening. And that right there in that moment is when they were open to, okay, what can we learn right now? Some kind of process. We need to come away with some tools, not just fluff and spirituality. We want to come away with some tools, but outside of the norm kind of tools. And so that's what I gave them, was tools on how to work with their triggers and how to discuss this in a way that leads them to true healing. And I've got this little fly going on me that goes into true healing about where it originated from, so you can heal that original spot. All right, so what else do I got here? when you don't work on this, when you just hold on to this grudge, you're saying yes to more of the same. And sometimes, I need to get really firm with people, and I needed to get really firm with her, saying, how has this been working out for you in the past? If you're, making it so logical that you're going to shut down and acquiesce and just placate, how's that been working for you? And doesn't that just kind of lead into more of the same? And actually, what that can lead into is a person like that connects in with a narcissist. So not because they're bad and not because they're wrong, and not because the narcissist is wrong. It's because they're in the same room together. The narcissist is looking for someone that they can control, that they can manipulate because of their own insecurities. And so they meet with someone that's a placater, that's a people pleaser, and they meet together. So again, it's not because the narcissist is wrong. The narcissist is not the problem. I want you to really hear that. The narcissist is not the problem. The narcissist is the catalyst or the antagonist. So they meet together in the same room. So the narcissist can change, and so the placater can change. So let's see. That what I just said there is looking at it from a higher perspective, looking at it from a soul or God perspective. Everything is perfect. It's all moving energy in the right way. And so those two meet in the same room so they can create together. If that isn't resolved, the other person will keep digging at you to try and get you to make a firm determination and stand in it. On the outside, it looks like they're just being a pain in the ass and they're just being a jerk. But on some other level, they're causing you to say, who are you? What are your needs? I'm trying to get you to tell me what you need. Because really, if you've ever met someone and been with someone that doesn't really have an opinion, doesn't know where they want to go to dinner, doesn't know how they want to do things, it's kind of frustrating because on one end, you kind of want that person to meet you. You want that person to be intimate with you and work with you. But when they're always placating towards you, it's a lot of pressure on you to come up with the right decision all the time, which takes them off the hook of making any wrong decisions. So that's what can happen there. Even though you have a high IQ, they will tell you what you want and how to do everything. That's what she was saying, is that this guy tells me how to do everything. He's got the better way of doing everything, and she's tired of it. Well, it's only because she's placating, so that just keeps on happening. But this whole way of being, this placater and people pleaser, something caused this behavior pattern to develop. And the pacify never fixes it. And what happened was some kind of trauma or perceived trauma caused her to shut down her expression and her creativity and go into, I'm just going to be low profile. I'm not going to be seen here. I'm just going to be just, whatever kind of thing. And I'll just go that way. But what needs to be looked at is what was the cause of that? What was the original thought? Was the original belief? Because that's what's kind of running the show. So let me spend the last bit here to talk about how the placater can be fixed. First of all, the person needs to get over the idea that them expressing themselves and expressing an opinion, or even some frustration, or even some anger, that it's going to destroy the relationship. If you are worried about you expressing your truth and it's going to destroy the relationship, you might not be in the right relationship. So in the right relationship, or your next great relationship, will be with someone that allows you to have a voice, allows you to be heard. And they go, I want to be heard too, so I'm going to allow you to be heard. It's kind of a give and take kind of thing. It's a win-win thing. So the right person says, I know you have emotions. I know you have opinions and feelings, and I'm here to heal. I'm here to hear them. So once that person gets over the idea that it's going to destroy the relationship, then they can start to say, in a really tender way, say, I have something to talk about, and I'm really worried that this may affect our relationship, but I need to say this. And here you are, all this feeling and emotion comes up, and you say what you need to say. But some of the best ways to say these things is something like this. really concerned about how this is going to affect how you might react to what I want to say. But this is what I've been working on. And so this is what happens. This thing happens with the air conditioner, and it makes me feel controlled. It makes me feel frustrated that I don't know how to do things. And it's not, you're not making me feel that. I'm feeling that. And you know what happens? I start feeling how I felt in my childhood. Like my mother used to make me feel that way. And it's not on her either, but that's how it made me feel. And now it's all coming up again. See, when you talk about it that way, this honest way, is that, it's not on you and it's not really on me either. My mind is making me feel this way. It's a really easy way to talk about it. It's not you are doing this, it's I'm feeling this. And just, it's really, I don't want to make it about you, but I'm definitely feeling this and I'm having real emotions about this. So it's like you're allowing your emotions to come up and you kind of get like emotional about the whole thing. It's all cool to have the emotion about it. And that's what, with the right person, when they see that, they go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that that was coming from that. And I was stirring it up. So, you know, I can't stop from stirring it up with you, but I can be aware of it and be sensitive to that. That's what brings you guys closer together, and you start talking about things like that. And when that person meets you like that, then when they have something going on, you can meet them in the same tender, compassionate way. So just getting over this idea that that you're not allowed to have opinions or things, or that you need to agree on everything. Like I gave the example that, when Valerie and I are watching a movie, I love watching old movies over and over again, like those old classics, like um, Swiss Family Robinson. I must have watched that 20 times, or like Cloud Atlas. I've watched that 36 times. There are some reasons why I watch those movies. They stir up childhood memories in me. They stir up emotions in me. They stir up sometimes spiritual awakening in me, like Cloud Atlas. But she likes watching, a lot of dramas and family dynamics and rom-coms and stuff like that. And I don't like those so much. I don't like, it's funny, I don't like the violence that comes in those kind of dramas sometimes, but she doesn't like the violence that I watch when I watch like a history channel about World War II or something. So because we don't agree on those things, it doesn't cause a conflict. We just say, well, how can we compromise on this? Maybe I'll watch a World War II history movie on my own, and she'll watch a rom-com on her own. And then when we meet together, we'll watch something that we're really excited about watching together. It may take us 20 minutes to find a movie that we compromise on, but it always happens. So it's just about compromise and being heard, and making sure that you are heard and you get your own needs met. But you got to find out what those needs are. But once you start to open that up and that you are allowed to get your needs met, what that does is that opens up the gates for you to get your needs met on a bigger level, on your job, your career, your relationship, your money, your health, all that stuff. But you can see how when we say, no, 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 I don't need this, and placating, that everything has got a closed door to it. So it's a huge transition. It's challenging at first, but right away it starts feeling really good, and you have your different life experience actually. So I hope that helps. That's all I got for this short time, and I love you, thank you, and bless you.